for the love of God, I have been trying to do this video for weeks. You name it, it's happened. It's crazy. So let's try again. Hopefully today's the day. Oh, it's such a beautiful day here in Boston. So for those that have been asking me for a video of who I am, what I'm doing here, here we go. So my name is Tamar. I live in Boston, Massachusetts, and my lioness alias name is Tommy. Tommy is the name my father used to call me Tommy when, I guess he still kind of does, when I was younger. I think, they had 3 girls, and I think secretly maybe he wanted me to be a boy. So he called me Tommy when I was younger, and that sticks to me. My sisters call me Tommy. It's just a nickname that always stuck. And I really felt like Tommy, like a lioness, later on in my life, and I'll get there so you guys can understand how it's just all kind of interconnected here. But I wanted to get a little background about who I am, why I'm here, what all this is, and of course to thank all of you, because this has been quite the journey, and knowing that there's a community of people out there is just it's important. We need each other more than ever. So I am a naturopath, and I'm right now studying very heavily, and my clients are primarily women in perimenopause. So women's health, it's been amazing. They have been like real just sisters in all of this, and they are the ones who motivated me to write my book. So I am getting there, about to launch that thing before the end of the year, God willing. So they've been incredible. And I think it's good to know where some people's lives have taken them and why they're even here. Like, if you had told me 10 years ago that I was going to be a naturopath and I was going to put myself out on Instagram and YouTube and do all this stuff, yeah, I would have been like, yeah, no, I don't know about that. But here we are. Here we are. So, okay, without further ado. So I am a mama, and that's my most favorite, my bestest job on the planet. And I have 2 incredible sons, and they're 15 and 12. And boy, have they taught me every lesson there is in the book about life. These last 15 years have been beautiful, and they're incredible, and I'm grateful for them. But they've also been part of they've been part of my awakening. Everything I thought I knew all shattered in the last 15 years. And it's funny, everybody I talk to about this is like, oh my goodness, me too. And then they have their story. And it's it's great. I think we're all collectively just waking up to the nonsense that's going on around us. And I'm glad most of us are at the point where we're laughing about it and no longer like the shock part's done. The anger and the sadness is done. And now we can just laugh about it and be like, you know what? I'm here to do good. God has you on a mission here, and we're here to raise consciousness and, be the light for others. And that's what we're here to do. So I just want to thank everyone, especially all the new people to the channel. Really, this journey it's more than just for me to help other people. It's about a sense of community. We really all need one another. That's what's been lacking. And that was my initial push to come online, was how do we bring everybody together? There's this segregation is driving me insane. And do others see this? Do they see what happens when they separate us? Anyway, I'm going off tangent. Back to me. So, my older son, a healthy boy, healthy, beautiful, my little Sagittarius prince, who's taller than me, he's not little. Healthy boy, and kept getting sick year after year. Your occasional asthmatic type symptoms when he would catch a cold when he was younger, he became a full-blown asthmatic. It took like about 5 years to get to this point, 4 or 5 years. But boy, I tell you, we couldn't leave the house without a nebulizer treatment. He had an asthma action plan and a nebulizer at school, at camp, any extracurricular activities. I mean, you name it. That like bag with all his stuff in it carried with him. And then he would need a nebulizer treatment at night before bed. And I remember asking our doctor, and I did love our pediatrician. She was Lebanese, so I'm Armenian, so we get each other. She gets my nuances. She gets like the home remedy side to me, and she'd be like, oh yeah, let me know how it goes if you try it, you know? She was great that way, but when it came down to understanding the root cause of why he kept getting sick, she absolutely frustrated me. Just quick background, like I am, up until that point, like not an anti-vaxxer at all. I'm fully vaccinated. My kids are fully vaccinated. They went to every appointment. They never missed a vaccine on schedule. I mean, you name it, we did it. I didn't question anything. But I kept having a hard time with, like, how did this boy become a full asthmatic? You know, it was hard watching him. I remember specifically he was playing soccer. He played for a local team here and in our town. And I remember this boy who would run, like you couldn't stop him, until now realizing he's asthmatic and he's holding himself back so that he wasn't panting or overworking his lungs so he wouldn't need a nebulizer treatment. I mean, you just watch a kid like go kind of backwards, and that in and of itself is heartbreaking. But then watching just year after year, just something's off, and you know it's off, but I can't figure it out. I can't verbalize it. I don't understand it. So of course, naturally, I'm looking for my pediatrician to help me through it. Totally felt gaslit, like, you know, looking back now in hindsight, right? Like, totally felt gaslit. So I, took matters into my own hands. I had his chart, and I started looking for some trends. And I have a lot of Virgo in my chart. I'm a Leo, but I have a lot of Virgo in my chart. So you can imagine me, my fellow Virgos, with every wellness visit on the table. And I had a timeline going. So I wanted to know, date of appointment, like going back as far as I could from understanding when he was getting asthmatic, what had happened, what visit it was, what sickness it was, what was given, you name it. And I started to write it down. And then I noticed how close the flu shot, and there was like a 4-year period, back to back, flu shot, hospitalization for something, and then asthma really bad, and they had to readjust his meds. So there was like back to back, and I'm like, okay, like it's almost way too close. Now the timing's off, right? Like it wasn't exactly each of them 5 days or what have you, but enough where I can make we can make a good argument, right? Like we can have a discussion about it. But she didn't want to have a discussion with me. She's like, I don't see it that way. Well, you're the professional, and I respect you as such. But how else can you explain what's happening to him? Like, I live with him every day. I see him every day. And a part of me was like, why am I shutting that part of this off just because she's the doctor? Like, no. So, I ended up calling the vaccine manufacturers. I guess long story short is this. No matter who I called, no matter who I consulted, I just felt gaslit. And I remember the last appointment that I had where I discussed this with her. I was like, listen, I'm really thinking about not giving him the flu shot. And she was like, and she got pretty stern with me, and she wasn't like this. She's not that kind of a doctor. She was like, I think that's very negligible of you. If you don't give him the flu shot, he's already really asthmatic. What if he gets sick? You don't want him with the flu. What, it would be so detrimental to him. Like, I totally strongly am against this. And, I sat there And it was I was so torn. I remember like, okay, all right, let's give him the flu shot. So they gave him the flu shot. And I kid you not, within about it was the third night in after that, we are in the emergency room and he had his first full-blown asthma attack. You know, guys, like, I don't know. There's a few moments, I'm sure everybody has something in their life they look back on and it's like never again. That'll never be me again. A part of me kind of died that night. That part that listened to other people and not myself when it came to my children. No one knows my children better than me, but here I am, because I was conditioned to do so, was trust and believe that they were, that my word, like what I felt inside somehow, you know, didn't matter because a doctor said something. Oh boy, that collapsed that night. I was really angry. I was angry at myself. And I was really upset that here we are. Like, this was never supposed to happen. Like, okay, he has asthmatic tendencies, but asthma attack, I don't wish that on anybody. That was one of probably the hardest nights for me as a mom in my whole life. But anyway, collapsed. That pillar of trusting others when it came to my kids died that day. And I vowed, as he was sleeping, finally, you know, breathing with a freaking monitor on him. And I remember sitting there, he was admitted for the night, and just praying to God saying, okay, no more, God. Like, you were right and you're messaging through me, but my fears or somebody else, I'm giving my power to somebody else here, and I'm no longer going to do that now when it comes to my kids. And I made that promise. And about 18 months later, I put that boy through, I did so much research again. God bless that Virgo side of me, because I did so much research trying to find forums, blogs, groups, you name it, books to read about how to naturally bring back your immune system after a vaccine injury. And believe it or not, back then I had a really hard time finding a lot of things. I did find forums and groups which were great, but none of these groups were necessarily doing, like, I wanted to fix it, whether it was his eating, the environment we were in. Anywho, I compiled a lot of different recommendations from different people, came up with, you know, trial and error here, whatever worked out, and I got that boy asthma free in 18 months. 18 months is all it took, because if you've ever tried to change a diet for like a 5-6-year-old, good luck. That was hard, but we did it. 80-20, 80% of his diet drastically changed. We kept about 20%, you know, sprinkled in here and there, but it was enough to help him. And that boy was asthma free. And something happens to you. There was like an isolation that came over me because I live in Massachusetts. I can't remember the exact statistic, but 97 or 98% of families just voluntarily vaccinate their children. This is the highest vaccination state, and I think it still is. So it does something to you. You get isolated. So eventually, because I stopped vaccinating my kids, we kind of got ex-nayed out of that practice. They like kicked us out. So, anywho, keep going. So that was the first pillar that kind of broke on me. And then around, I think it was like, so then my second pillar was right after COVID. And just a little bit about me during COVID. I was already kind of tainted with this whole medical system, vaccinations. Like, I became really, I think it was like anti-everything. It wasn't even just anti-vax. It's learning about the corruption of, like, how our doctors are incentivized to give these vaccines. I mean, I don't know, a lot came out. But what was really in Massachusetts in 2021, that summer, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and our Health and Human Services said, oh, with all that's happening with COVID and the shot wasn't out yet, at least not for the kids. And they said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and make the flu shot mandatory for that upcoming school year. I'm like, oh, okay, no big deal. We had we joined a new pediatric group. They knew my position about vaccinations. They were very respectful of it. That's why I went there. Very respectful of it. They knew Harut's reaction, like my older son's reaction to amoxicillin, penicillin. Like he's just not the kid we give medication to. Okay. And same thing with my younger son. His reactions are a little different, not as severe as his older brother, but my kids are just no drugs. We're going to keep them drug free. They were good with that. So I thought, yeah, so I will go there and no big deal if they made it mandatory. So I'll get a medical exemption. No big deal. The doctor wrote me back and said, as a medical practice, they have made a decision that they are not going to be writing medical exemptions. Say what? So not just to me, like, so as a medical practice, so if you had a child who had an anaphylactic shock of some sort to some kind of a vaccine, you're not going to write a medical exemption? What kind of shit is that? Oh my God, it was so bad. And I remember going, like, what do you do? So I knew about religious exemptions, but I have a medical reason why we don't give the flu shot. Like, are you serious? I got so upset. I got so angry. So I was talking to a really good friend and who lives here in Massachusetts, and she's also, similar boat as me, vaccine hesitant. She's like, you've got to join this group on Facebook called Flu U Baker. And they weren't all anti-vaxxers. They were all walks of life trying to just like relax with the government overreach. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. They had already moved forward with their lawsuit. But I remember like one day feeling like I feel so isolated and I just want to talk to somebody, talk to people. So I wrote my son's and our story on that Facebook page. So on that Facebook page, I was overwhelmed with the outpouring of love and support from people was, incredible. But somebody reached out to me on a DM and said, hey, if you're interested in jumping on a lawsuit, ICANN is doing one. So why not see if you'd be interested? I'm like, oh my goodness. So sure enough, we made it happen. And through the help of ICANN, and if you don't know what ICANN is, please, please, please go see them. Go visit their page. They were part of a very difficult time in my life for me, and I appreciate them so much. So with their help, I sued the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I think with all the pressure they were feeling, and of course because they didn't follow the right protocols, all the right legal steps in order to mandate any kind of vaccine to the schedule, they rescinded the lawsuit, so it was no longer mandatory in Massachusetts to do the flu shot. But what a lesson in all that for me. Government freaking overreach, like the audacity to think that, these people are so dumb. We can roll out whatever we want whenever we want. And maybe they've gotten away with it in the past. I don't know. But I could not believe the fear they instilled in medical practices around here Doctors were kicking patients out of practices for all sorts of reasons. Like, what world do we live in? Anyway, like, it makes you really question a bunch of shit, right? Like, so now the medical establishment has gone to shit for me. Government overreach, that bubble burst so quickly. And then came something even more personal. So as all this is happening, I had a really amazing corporate career. I really did. I worked for Bank of America. I had the absolute privilege of working with some of the best human beings there is, and I mean that wholeheartedly. My teammates, I still miss them to this day. They were everything, like a second family, like your work family. Just some great human beings. And just like most other companies, Bank of America rolled out their vaccine portal where you write, if you took the vaccine or if you didn't, or if you're undisclosed. Now, Bank of America took a stance and didn't have that undisclosed button, so you're going to say whether you are or you aren't. And at this point, I'm just mentally exhausted. Like, what world are we all living in? Am I like in this bubble by myself? Like, really? What are you going to do with this information? And, my role was pretty senior in the bank. And, my last role, I was a project manager in communications, and I supported the CEO and the board of directors. So, rumors are rumors, and I get that. Not everything is always accurate. But, I had quite compelling argument, or like compelling conspiracies, I should say, rather, of what they were going to do with this vaccine information. Like the thought that they were going to segregate people, that was my biggest concern. And how would anybody be okay with this? I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. It doesn't matter. You're okay with being segregated? Like, we worked from home for 3+ years, and allegedly, we made huge amounts of, we were surpassing expectations quarter after quarter. So now it's this big push to come back in the office. Why? If this thing is that deadly, why would we do that? Why don't you keep everyone home? It's for safety. And then it's like, no, we're going to put everybody's info in this portal and segregate you for safety. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't make sense. So I took a stance, probably for the first time in my life, especially my career, that I loved, that I said, I'm not going to be in compliance, but I'm not going to share this info. This is terrible what we're going to do with this information. Like, I love this company, and I really did. I loved the company. I loved everybody I worked with. I loved what I did every day. And, I'm not okay with that. And even if that was a conspiracy, and I think now we've learned that that is not what ended up happening, and who knows why. I mean, we could speculate, but that does something to somebody. Like, what are you going to do with this information? And now, all these years later, what are you doing with this information? We mutually decided that that I had to leave the bank. They didn't want me to go, and a big part of me didn't want to go. But I can't sit there and be out of compliance and in a red status. And I had to stick to what was truly important to me. I wasn't going to lose myself in this. And I don't know, God's grace, guys, because so many moments that I felt like if I was really being fearful, I would have stayed. I would have just completed the assessment and let them know what my status was. But I didn't. God kept whispering something to me to stay strong and to stay rooted in my convictions. It is like, you're doing the right thing. And I follow that voice. And as much as I miss everybody, and I do miss them all, I have no regrets with my decision. And I will say now, because I probably couldn't have admitted this like a year or two ago, but a part of me also died that day. I realized how much my identity was tied to who I was at Bank of America, my title, who I supported. Come on, guys. Like, I supported the CEO and the board of directors. I was a project manager. It was such an amazing job. But every part of me that, measured my self-worth was tied to that. So it was a big hit for me. It took me a long time to build back that self-worth because, no job should ever define who you are. And if you had asked me if I was in Bank of America, if my worth was tied, my identity was tied to who I was at the bank, I would not have admitted it then. It took me leaving. It took me mourning who I was to finally come up with that realization. And that was hard. And now it's remembering who I truly am. I'm a woman rooted in God. I'm not rooted in fear. I am at His, He's leading the way at every juncture of this journey for me. And one thing, no matter what, all these years that I've helped others do is help them with naturally improving their lives. And although I wasn't a naturopath then, I remember as I was getting over my own self-worth darkness, what fed my soul was helping everyone else. And I figured out, I should probably make this more formal, take some courses, take some classes. And I did. And then I became a naturopath. I took the international certification. It's kind of cool. So I could practice this across the globe, which is great. And I love it. So I've been doing this now for several years. And I love it. It's truly amazing working with other people and helping people. And for me, I think these last couple of years have been the most impactful. I think on both sides. For me, helping others, and others even helping me in some respects. So a couple of years ago, I also hit perimenopause. So as if all that shit leading up to things wasn't bad enough, it's like perimenopause hit me out of nowhere. I was not expecting it. And I'm going through all those symptoms at the time, and if somebody said, yeah, you should probably should look to see if it's perimenopause, I would have been like, no, I'm too young for perimenopause. But nope, perimenopause. So everything I thought I knew, including how I was eating, how I was exercising, my nightly routine, my morning routine, you name it, crumbled. Everything, all of it at once. So it was relearning me at age 41, I think I was, and building myself back up. And as I was building myself back up, my client base exploded. It was kind of cool. So we were building each other up at the same time. So my passions truly became women's health, a lot of reading, a lot of, looking at all the different medical research, which, by the way, there's very little. 2% of global research is really done on women. Yet go figure. We're the most complex beings, but yeah, 2%. Learning a lot about what they're not doing is important. Like not having research done for us and the importance of our endocrine system and our gut as it relates to perimenopause. There is some new research coming out like overseas of that, which is kind of cool, and I'm excited to like read it once everything gets published, but like very little. So a lot of the research that I'm doing and a lot of the work that I'm doing with clients is having everyone just understand just basic stuff and know that this is just the basics for anybody, even men. If your gut is not healthy, nothing else will be healthy. Nothing else. Your endocrine system will be shot, and that's your hormones, right? Everything needs to work together. Your whole body works together. So you have people who are like, oh, I have pain in this one area. Yo, your body does not work in isolation. It's everything. You know what it also is? It also is how well you're eating. It is important that you're with quality relationships around you who support you and nurture you. You also need to be cognizant of what you're reading and what you're absorbing, the energies that are around you. All of it plays a role. Nothing works in a silo. So if you're going to take anything from this video, anything at all, let it be that. Your body does not work in a silo. And the whole Western mentality that, oh, this is your cardiologist, this is your podiatrist, like your body, all of it, everything works together. Nothing works in a silo. So, anywho, I hope this was helpful. This was long. Oh my goodness, 30 minutes. Who talks that long? Anyway, thank you all, especially those newcomers to my page. I hope we get to chat, DM, go to my website, whatever it is. So, thank you all. Talk soon.